Everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are back with another Connect with Yasmine. We're getting some reports that it's not live just yet, so we're going to hold off on diving in. So give us a little grace with that. We want to make sure that folks are seeing it. Okay, it looks like it's going up now, so that's wonderful. So again, a happy Wednesday. Welcome again to another Connect with Yasmine. My name is Yasmine-Imani McMorrin. I am incredibly honored to be running for Culver City Council. During the day, I serve as the Interim Dean of Students and Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at USC Gould School of Law. For our city, I serve as the General Plan Advisory Committee Vice Chair. And I also, which is relevant to today, I recently served on the Equity Strategic Planning Committee with our school district. And that wrapped back in August. So I was incredibly honored to do that. So in terms of Team Yasmine and hashtag Vote McMorrin, which is our two hashtags. So we invite you to, of course, share the stream. Make comments. So if you have questions or anything that comes up, make sure that you're in communication with us. We'll make sure to see that. And basically just the goal for this city council run is that we want a Culver City that centers equity and inclusion in every city policy, and also considering our budget allocations, right? We want to make sure that we have safe and thriving neighborhoods. So whether you live, work, learn, or play in Culver City, you are met with a welcoming and inclusive community. So that translates, of course, to housing, transit, mobility, environmental goals, right? It really runs the gamut. As a progressive candidate, I am making sure to center all of those things, and of course, equity, because it runs through. We don't want to add that at the end. We want to make sure that it's baked into all of our decisions. So in terms of today, if you're new, Connect with Yasmine's are short 15, 20-minute conversations with some incredible folks from Culver City and sometimes outside. And we just touch base. It helps us bridge the COVID gap. So we can't knock on doors and sort of engage in the traditional campaign outreaches. So this allows us to connect with you. It allows us to connect with some awesome folks who are doing some incredible work. So we're back again, and I'm incredibly honored to have one of my dear sisters and friends, Summer McBride. She is our Culver City Unified School Board President. She is my Culver City Community of Color Collective sister. She is a super mom of 5 boys. I don't know how she does all the things she does. She's a magician over there, but I'm incredibly honored to know her. I'm in awe of her service to our community and just how she does it all with grace. So welcome, Summer. So glad that you're able to join us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Tell the people a little something about yourself.
You said more than I would ever give myself credit for, so that's a hard one to follow. But yes, I'm currently the president of the Culver City School Board. I've been in the district as a parent for 12 years. I have an 11th grader, a 10th grader, an 8th grader, a 6th grader, and a 1st grader. And all of my kids graduated from El Rincon. There's one still there. I spent a lot of time serving on the PTA and just finding ways that I could be of any kind of support in the district, not only to help my kids and the schools that they've attended, but just the schools throughout the district, because we know that so much of our community is built around our incredible school system. And so me getting involved was not just a way to help, but also to make connections throughout the city. And in my day job, I teach parenting classes for a nonprofit community clinic. I get to work with families who have open DCFS cases and formerly incarcerated. Before COVID, I was able to teach classes at the women's jail in Linwood, and I find so much joy in the job that I get to do. It's a privilege to work with people who sometimes society has counted out, and I've seen so much growth in my clients. And so just to be on that journey with them. And parenting is hard. Anybody who has a child or has cared for a child knows that parenting is hard. And so it's just a privilege to be able to help families on that journey. And I try to bring that into some of what I do on the school board, and always keep this idea that I'm always going to be a parent first in this role. So thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And girl, you're doing the Lord's work. We know that. You know that parenting. I feel like no one prepares you to be a parent, but I guess collectively as a village, we come together, we get support. And so kudos for everything that you're doing. I do want to add that I met Summer, my daughter and I moved to Culver City in 2016, and we met through the PTA at El Rincon in 2016. I think you were one of the VPs back then, but Summer has been involved. I think you even became on the board that year or the next or something. It was
probably sometime around then. Yeah.
Yeah. So Summer is definitely a part of just one of the folks who've inspired me to sort of get involved, showed me that it's possible. So thanks for that. And so much so that we co-founded the Culver City Community of Color Collective in 2018 with some other fantastic Culver City moms of color. We saw an opportunity to create more community for families of color in Culver City. We tried to do some collaboration with the city and the school district. And it turned out that this year we were able to partner with the school district and have some Black History Month programming. So that's exciting. I hope that we'll be able to do that again moving forward. And of course, we have our Kwanzaa, and hopefully we'll have a virtual barbecue or maybe an in-person barbecue in 2021. Fingers crossed. Miss Rona will give us free. But yeah, we're in this virtual format, which makes it difficult for us to sort of engage in the same kind of advocacy and outreach or do circles, or it's difficult to sort of hold space for one another during this time. But I'm always really grateful for you all. It's just a really safe space as parents of color. And if you are not a person of color, it's sometimes hard to articulate and I don't even know, but there's a gap. And it's nice to just be yourself and have folks understand the struggles and, and even some of the advocating that you have to do on behalf of your child within the school district or maybe even outside. So I just wanted to shout out to our sisters from the collective. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything with that, but I wanted to make sure to thank them thank you for creating that space because it's definitely had an impact, I think, on our community. And I look forward to what maybe could come from that, either with more collaboration with other folks or just with us continuing to just pool our resources and show up, because it's really important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The times that we spend together, whether it's virtually or in person, when we're doing planning in the collective, or if we're just meeting for a meal at somebody's kitchen table, it has been literally the thing that has inspired me and encouraged me to keep going when things get really difficult. And I always say, every time I come away from a collective meeting, regardless of what we're talking about, I feel like it's food for my soul. And being a person of color, I'm Black, my husband is Black, we're raising 5 Black boys. And the Culver City Community of Color Collective was meant to be a place, a safe space for families who are raising children of color in or close to Culver City. And it's become that because you're right. Even though we love diversity And I love having my children in schools where they can see so many people who come from different backgrounds, different family structures, different socioeconomic statuses. It's important to make sure that my children know their heritage, their history, their culture. And sometimes we're limited in that ability. I think Culver City is made up of like 8% Black or African-American community, which means it does make it difficult to have those spaces where we can immerse them in our culture. And the collective has given us those opportunities that we've created. And I'm a big fan of whatever group you're a part of. If you are an advocate for yourself, it's like the clothing line, FUBU, for us, by us. That's sort of my motto when it comes to advocacy. It doesn't mean that allies and accomplices are not important. They are critical to the movement, but the voices of the people who are advocating have to be amplified. And sometimes we need that safe space where we can just share and be ourselves and feel like we've made a connection with other people who are sharing some of the same struggles. And that's what the collective has done for me and for my kids. So, and for the husbands and the men in our lives, we can't leave them out too.
For sure. So in terms of the work on the school board, I was really honored to be a part of the equity plan that was adopted by the board in late August. There were some long meetings getting that passed and adopted by our board, but really proud to have worked on putting together that 3-year plan. I often talk about it within the context of this reimagining public safety conversation that the city is having in terms of sort of like a quasi model of how to engage different stakeholders, have conversations, and make sure that it's like a measured process. But how's that going? Are there any? I mean, it's super soon. We just did it in August, and it's just October, and I know we had professional development, curriculum, like, all these different benchmarks in terms of success metrics. But I think that wasn't there like a do-rag ban that is no longer the case? So that's already impact. Yes. So that's
little victories. Little victories.
So other than that, are there any other wins or any other just feedbacks that you've had since that equity plan, that living document has been adopted?
Well, I have to say, first of all, you kind of glossed over it. You were instrumental in helping with the completion of that plan. And so I just want to thank you for your facilitation and your leadership in several of our meetings, but in particular, when we revisited the plan before the board approved it, you were critical in helping us bring in all of the feedback that we got from the public, from other board members and other stakeholders to make sure that we really made a plan that reflected the needs of the community, of our students, the staff. We did have a meeting at the end of the process that we didn't expect to have, but I'm glad that we did, with PLC for Change. And I know you had Batania on the last, or one of the more recent events that you had. And she was instrumental with PLC for Change in making some recommendations to the plan, because they created their own inclusivity plan that was for all intents and purposes, like a really comprehensive plan for the high school. And we included some of those pieces that were key to fill in some gaps that we had after we looked at ours a little bit more. And so I just want to thank you, Yasmine, for helping us through that process. And it was approved by the board on August 25th. And we did make a commitment to have staff revisit with updates about every 3 months, with the consideration for the fact that we are in COVID, we are in distance learning, things are changing daily, and we don't know what from one week to the next LA County or the Department of Public Health or even the state will tell us we're allowed to do. And so staff is really stretched thin, but we wanted to make sure that, especially now, equity is at the forefront of every decision we make. We don't want this time to become a time when the chasm of the, opportunity gaps, the resource gap becomes bigger, because we already knew that it existed. And now that we are in distance learning and people are able to reach out to the district and say, I need technology, or I need meals that I didn't need before, we wanted to make sure that every decision we make is through that lens. And I'm glad that we have this plan, because we have actually gotten some pushback on some decisions that have been made recently about engaging in more conversations about Black Lives Matter. not even about necessarily the movement, but just the messaging that Black Lives Matter, period, as a statement. And there is some critical discourse happening at the high school that people are not in favor of. And I think we're at this pivotal point where there are going to be people who reject it, and that's where we need to dig in a little bit harder. And it's not about saying you just have to accept it. This has to be a teaching moment for all of us, where we say, if this is something you reject, tell me what about it you reject, and let's educate you on why this is important, why our children need to understand this as early as kindergarten, about different cultures and different races and different abilities and different languages. And so right now we're starting, we didn't wait. We're not waiting until we return to campuses. That plan is in place right now. I had a meeting with Ms. Pamelia, the Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, and Dr. Lisa Michelle, who's the Secondary Director of Education and Instruction. And we're going to reboot the Equity Advisory Council. We're going to have a more formalized structure. There are going to be sort of applications that go out for new members to join. And we're going to break off into some community groups and make sure that not committees, community groups, but committees, to make sure that we can really start to focus on the themes that are laid out in that plan with some real fidelity.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad that we are continuing to move forward and keep up the good work. I know it's difficult. It's even tough in the higher ed level, where it's like, well, people believe different things. And I'm like, I don't know if saying that Black Lives Matter is, a belief. I think, we should all be able to agree that they matter, and make sure that we have policy and supports to do so. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but these conversations and these opportunities to really provide moments for folks to listen and learn. And also, I just think, and this isn't where this is supposed to go, but I think when folks are so used to being centered and so used to, everything being, it's just a different lens, it's a different conversation that we're having right now. And, this talking about equity, making sure that our policy is really reflecting that, is tough for some folks because it is a shift. So any place where we're having these conversations and we're continuing progress, it's kudos. We gotta keep applying pressure and keep moving forward. So thank you so much for being there and making sure to see that through, and of course advocating for not only your boys but for all of our kids here in Culver City. So thank you so much. In that lane, was there any other updates that you wanted to give on remote learning, or anything else cool that is coming up that folks should know about that maybe they don't know about?
So with remote learning, it has been such a challenge. I'm just going to be really real with you. A lot of our students are struggling with it. It's not normal for children, for even high schoolers, to be isolated the way they've been and having to learn online. And we often complain that kids spend too much time connected to their technology, but that's more for the sake of their own enjoyment. They like it when they want to go online and play video games and things like that. But in their learning and in their normal day, they really should be interacting with other people in real life. And this is just one of the hardest things that many of our students have had to experience. And as a board, it's our responsibility to make sure that, yes, academics is important, and we need to make sure that there is not learning loss, or where there is learning loss, it's mitigated, and we have a strategy to make up for it so that students are able to still meet state standards and graduate on time. But more than anything, if we're not focused on their mental health and their socio-emotional well-being, it's none of it really matters. And for me personally, that's the biggest challenge right now, just trying to find a way to balance that for 7,000 of our students, from preschool all the way, honestly, through our adult school, making sure that we are being careful to not push the academics so hard that we lose sight of just the person and their basic needs. And when I think about basic needs, I teach Maslow's hierarchy of needs all day, every day in my parenting classes. Right. And it's, it's the needs that every human has, broken down into 5 primary categories. And I think sometimes those middle categories of social love and support and self-esteem and appreciation are forgotten for the sake of just making sure we meet the physical needs and the safety and security needs. And that's where we are right now, just making sure that kids are healthy and safe. But that social interaction is so important. And so we're trying to find ways to bring smaller groups of students on campus, especially the ones who have the highest academic needs, English learners, students who have IEPs. Those are the students who are the focus right now. But even if a student doesn't have an IEP, it doesn't mean that they don't have a legitimate need that hasn't either been identified or maybe brand new as a result of being in isolation. So we're trying to find other ways to bring small groups on campus, and we're waiting for the LA County Office of Education to give us the green light to even have small learning pods on campus for students who don't have high needs. And right now there is a plan that has been presented. It was presented at last night's board meeting to bring on some athletics teams and part of the some of the arts programs from our Academy of Visual and Performing Arts. There's no definite timeline on it. They're hoping by October 26th, we can have students on campus spread out, socially or physically distanced, in the most safe way possible. But it's important that we do the hard work of making sure that we create spaces where students can come back together soon, because they desperately need that interaction. And I think we're going to see, hopefully, after this is over, maybe we'll see a strong pendulum swing in the other direction, where kids are less connected to their devices once they're able to return back to campuses and they find new ways to connect with each other in life, in real life. And there may be an unexpected positive outcome from this. I'm hoping.
I hope so.
Yeah. So other than that, I would just encourage any parents who are watching or any community members. We have board meetings every second and fourth Tuesday night of the month at 7, and every single Tuesday night board meeting, we're giving updates on distance learning and all of the COVID updates. And our superintendent has been so great about putting out weekly emails, Culver Pride, with updates, and whatever information we have, we've been passing it on to parents. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. Yes. Well, yes, everyone, they're quite entertaining. I'm one of the weird people who actually likes going to council meetings, school board meetings. It's helpful to know what's going on. It's better than reading it like on the newsletter or the superintendent's corner, or the board's corner in that newsletter. So just go and get involved, and give public comment, because all of our electeds are accountable to us. So
absolutely. And I'm weird like you. People think it's odd, but I've always liked to watch, and even now I watch the LA Unified School District board meetings on Sundays on their channel, and I learn a lot, because a lot of our school districts locally are going through the same exact thing we're going through. And if they found a way to solve a problem or address a need, I want to know. So I do tune in to the board meetings that are either online from Santa Monica, Linwood. I'm willing to learn from anybody.
That's right. You got to be like sponges.
Yes.
Best practices. Nobody has a patent on the best practice. So, well, we're running a little over, but I want to make sure to touch on representation and why it's important. So, I don't know. Are you the first Black woman?
I'm the third.
The third, okay.
Yes.
But that's still not that many.
Right.
And we know that our superintendent, Leslie Lockhart, is the first Black woman to be superintendent of CCUSD. And we know I'd be the first Black woman to sit on Culver City's city council. So I wanted to just, what does it mean to our students? What does it mean to our community to sort of be in these positions that aren't traditionally for, or, we weren't thought of really when they were thinking about these bodies and shaping them. So I would just wanted to get your perspective on our representation and why it's so important.
I think it's so important for a variety of reasons, but the most basic is that it's important for people to see a reflection of them in the leadership. If you look like me and you have similar experiences to me, then more than likely you're going to understand my needs and my struggles and the things that concern me. And so that's just one basic reason why it's important to have representation that reflects the community that you're serving. I think it's also important to have representation that reflects the community, but also looks different than the community in some ways, because that changes the perception that people have of a particular group. If what they know about that person or that group has been limited to what they've seen on television or what they've seen in the news or what they've heard about in movies. And so as a Black woman, I know, being in the United States, there is a history of how Black women in particular have been perceived. If you go all the way back, we were either, the mothers, the caretakers, the mammies inside the house, or we were in some other ways just providing a service to take care of babies. And there was not an expectation that the intelligence that Black women have would be useful to anybody other than that one role. And so the representation that we have now is showing not only people of color, but all people that diversity of thought is really important. It's the diversity of thought that comes with the experiences that we've all either shared or had different than each other that helps us find solutions to problems that we really all have. Like, we're not that different. Me as a Black woman, I'm trying to do the same thing that a white mother or a Latinx mother is trying to do: feed our kids, take care of them, make sure that their needs are met, raise my family, make good choices. But the things that I come with from my background inform a lot of the decisions that I make. And there's a value in listening to someone who has a different point of view. And that different point of view can be really important to shaping the decisions I make for someone who doesn't look like me. And so I think there's and just historically, we know that the Constitution was created for a very particular group of people, white males who own land. And beyond that, we were not included in those decisions. And so the more people of color, the more people who don't necessarily fit into one box are brought into the decision making of, at the policy level, or even just locally in the community with even grassroots organizations or leaderships in firms or businesses, the more we can start to welcome more people to the proverbial table, making more seats at the table, making it bigger, and also listening to people and getting that feedback, that lived experience that they have that I may not have.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's, given the hearings that are going on right now with the maybe new Supreme Court justice, and originalism and sort of that whole conversation. But yeah, our Constitution was not, we were not thought of. So it's so important for all the reasons that you stated. And we're here not just as representatives of our, groups, although of course we are just by, who we are, but of course we care about everyone by caring about, our communities. So I just fundamentally believe that, and I just wanted to raise that here also. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with our team, Yasmine, before we close out? I just want to thank you so much. This was a really rich conversation, and I appreciate you taking time out of what I know is a very busy schedule.
I really do appreciate this opportunity, and I'm so grateful for you stepping out and, making yourself available to lead in Culver City, because we need your leadership. I know you personally, and I've gotten to know you so much better over the last few years working with you on the collective. And I know that you have such great ideas and you lead with compassion. It's the combination of the logical, thoughtful decision-making along with the empathy that you bring to the table that I want for leadership in Culver City. I don't plan on going anywhere. I have, kids who won't be leaving the Culver City schools anytime soon. And I want to make sure that the city and the school district are able to really work together. And I know the passion that you have for young people and girls in particular. I don't have any daughters, but that's another reason why I want your voice here, because you have always kept it at the forefront of the conversations that we've had about the importance of shaping the future for girls and making sure that they have good role models. And our young girls need to see that. They need to see that there are women who look like them, and even women, it's not always about looking like. Representation is important, but it's not always about looking like the person, because there are a lot of people who look like us who don't believe what we believe. I'll just leave it at that. Representation is important, but they also have to have the right they have to have the right values. And I know you do, Yasmine, and I would be so happy to have you as a part of the leadership of our community, especially what you've already contributed to the GPAC and making sure that the plan for the future of Culver City has some thoughtful things laid into it. And so I can just see that thriving even more with you on City Council.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a, I can't top that. So that's the best note to close out on. Thank you so much again, Summer, for spending time with us and connecting with us. I know we have some of your contact information. If folks want to get in contact with you, I don't know if that's going to come up in a banner. All right, great. So we have Summer's Board President McBride's phone number and email listed if folks want to reach her. So thank you again so much. I think that this was really great. And yeah, we're gonna close out. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Reminder, please, to fill out your census by tomorrow. If you haven't, that is the official deadline. So I just wanted to plug that just in case you're last minute. Nothing wrong with that as long as you get it done. And of course, reminders to vote. As folks have already started voting, so we would appreciate your support. We also, if you'd like to be a part of phone banking, text banking, we're having a postcard party tomorrow. So if in whatever way you'd like to get involved, please reach out to us at Vote McMorrin and sign up. Also for yard signs, window signs, things like that. We always appreciate that showing of support. And we're having a Connect with Councilmember Daniel Lee on Saturday. So hopefully you all will be able to join that and engage with that. But thank you. Those are my updates. I'm sure I've missed one or two, but make sure you get plugged in with the campaign so you'll be updated on all of our updates that we send out via email. So thank you so much for some of your time today, and take care and be safe and well, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.